Hi guys, it's beginning of April and here in Malta, as pretty much everywhere in the world, we're in coronavirus lockdown. So being a photographer, I have to find something to do. I'm stuck in the house because of an age where I'm considered very high risk. So we get the camera out and we create something. Now I have a lot of stuff in the house and it doesn't start with the stuff though. What it starts with is the story. And my story is that I cannot travel, but I would like to. So in my mind, I went to Morocco. I went to a small village. I walked down the hot street with the sun beating down, and I came upon a small shanty coffee shop. And as I went inside, there was nobody in there. The sun was streaming through the door and through the windows at the side. And I saw a scene before me of a table set on a Hessian rag sack and a coffee pot and coffee waiting to be ground and be prepared. And I thought, well, this is a good idea, guys. I'm going to recreate this coffee shop in Morocco, which doesn't really exist. But what we'll do is we'll go into the studio and I'll take you guys along and let's see how we did it, how we created that image. Hi guys, so we're back in the studio and as promised I'm going to run down what I've been doing today. Now today is in my mind, a Moroccan coffee shoot. Coffee's quite important to me, I drink a lot of it. And I have my own coffee beans and grind them and make my coffee, and I drink a lot, maybe 1.5 litres a day, probably too much, but hey, you know, it counteracts the beta blockers and everything I have to take to keep on an even keel, so that's cool, that's good. So here we are in the studio. You know the setup, guys. So what we have is we have the camera set on a tripod. I always set the camera on the tripod in the studio unless I'm shooting models, but normally if I'm shooting a still life or a studio shot, it's on the tripod. I always use live view because I think it helps me with the composition and lining everything up, so that's important. So here we see on the back of my trusty Nikon D850. I love this camera. I had a D800 before, and the D850 just fitted into my hand in life. So what we have here, guys, is we have the setup. Now the setup is Hessian cloth, Hessian sacking. We have a sack here which is filled with actually material. We have our kettle coffee pot up here, a vaguely Moroccan type table, Indian table, and I think it's teak actually. We have our coffee. Now, when I set this up, the idea was to bring the two together. And what I wanted to do, I wanted a link between them. So I've draped a sack across here, and the sack is to bring these two items in relation to each other. So there's a connection between them. So what we have, guys, we have two strip boxes, one here, one this side. And what these strip boxes do is they're put in a cross light. So that means that where we have material which is draped, because of the folds of the material, it will put texture, highlights and shadows across. And it will pick out the coffee as it skims across it. And the same with this. So on the coffee pot, the kettle, we have highlights each side. Now back at the camera position, what we have here is we have the camera here and we have this, which is basically a softbox, fill in the shadows. So what we want to do is we want to just lift it. We want to just lift the shadows slightly and still have all of this texture, and we want the shadows in the background, which some of which we have to enhance in Photoshop. But we'll go through that later, guys, when we're back at the computer. And I'll show you the final image. Now, my imagination this morning, I was intending to go to India this year and spend a month there. But coronavirus and lockdown meant
that's not going to happen. So what I do is I travel to Morocco, to a small village, and all of this is in my mind. It's my imagination, and I've tried to recreate a place. As I walked through the village, I saw a rundown coffee shop, and I walked in and I saw this scene. This is all in my head, guys, so none of it exists. But what I've tried to do is I've tried to tell a story with my photography, tell of a travel that maybe one day I will do. Who's to say it's not real? When I'm dead and when I'm gone, people will look at these images and hopefully they will say, he was there. Who knows, guys? But so what I wanted to do, guys, I wanted to create a Moroccan feel, something like a Casbah coffee shop, something where I went in and the place was deserted and there were just the accoutrements, just the coffee and the table and the rag, the mat to sit on. So this is all in my head. This is all imagination. And I think it's important, if you're going to create an image, it's fine being technical, and you should be technical, and you should take care, and you should arrange with thought and consideration. But you have to have some reason, not just a technical exercise. So if you just use only technical aspects, it becomes very sterile. It's important that you use your imagination and you try to tell a story. So that's what I'm doing with my photography in lockdown, and that's what I'm trying to give you guys. So this behind the scenes video, I hope it helps. I hope it gives you some ideas, guys. Be strong, be safe.
Coffee. Okay guys, so that's the shot taken. Now let's move into Photoshop and let's have a look what we've done and what the result is and why it's like it is and how we can work to correct it, or at least to make it match the vision that we had. So crossing Photoshop, now you see we have the image. You see down the edge here there is a strip of blank pixels, and the reason that is simply because the camera wasn't absolutely level, and I rotated the image slightly to level it up and make it all nice and neat and tidy. So we have a strip here of pixels. Am I going to do anything about that? Not at the moment. What I'm going to do is edit the image, and I know I'm going to crop it slightly, so I'll wait until I've finished and then crop it then. Now the first thing we notice about this image is that it's very dull, and the warm golden tones that you saw on the video aren't there. And the reason for that is I have my camera set on auto white balance, and 99% of the time it's fabulous. But this time I'm using Studio Flash and I have the modeling lights on. So when I turn the overhead lights off and it's only the modeling lights, they're very yellow, which was a gorgeous, gorgeous tone, and it was what I wanted for the image. But the camera says, no, there's a yellow cast, so we'll take that out, which it did beautifully. And as you can see, we have this raw image here, which is quite dull. So the first thing we do with it is we put the yellow back. Now I have a lot adjustment, a lookup table, which is called summer punch, and that punches a lot of yellow in. So when I use it, normally what I do, it's far too much, I put it in and then I reduce the opacity and tone it down. So with the yellow in, now we have a semblance of yellow as it was. And that's just simply, guys, that's moved it. Now because the screen is so small, I need my glasses, oh dear. And the next thing we do is we want to bang a bit of texture and a bit of sharpness in, because as you see the image here, guys, we could do with a bit of sharpening. So that's the first thing, sharpen, high pass, bang. So now you see that the image is it's sharpened, but what sharpening does as well is it tends to increase the contrast a little bit. So we make a layer copy of it. And now what I want to do here is, guys, I want to put a small vignette and leave the highlights as they are. So we'll put a vignette. Now all of these are actions which I have up here, guys, and you create these in advance, and then when you need them you bang them in. And it's simple. If you're going to build your own actions or your own lookup tables, make them heavier and stronger than you wish, because it's very simple just to reduce the opacity and bring them back to a normal effect. So now we have this. I want to just lighten the bit around here around the kettle a bit. So what we do is we'll increase it, and it's quite subtle, guys. You know, we're only bringing a little bit into it, so that's fine. And now the bit along here, you can see we have some artifacts. That's fine. We're still going to crop it, but we just want to lighten the rest of the image and leave that dark. So you can see the layer mask here, and we've lightened it, bang, and we've just blanked out the bit on the edge because we want that to stay a bit darker. We then put a very, very minor vignette around it, and that's on here. Soft vignette. I have three: a soft vignette, a medium vignette, and a hard vignette. And basically I just put them on, and if they're too strong I just reduce the opacity. If they need to be stronger I use the heavy one and then just reduce the opacity, so that's fine. So then we go to layer 11. We just bang the contrast in and we up the contrast on it, and then we want to burn down the edge here around the coffee, and we do that again with another vignette. And that, guys, it's as simple as that. That is the final image. That is how it is. So what have we really done? What we've done is we've recreated how it looked and how I envisaged the final image. Could I do this in camera? Yes, I could. It's possible. But I have a small studio, guys, and it means that when I use studio flashes, light bounces everywhere. Now, I could flag off, put black card in the way of the lights and just shade bits and areas that I want. It would take an enormous amount of time. It's just much, much simpler to do it in Photoshop. And it's as simple as that. So the final image now is as we see here, and I hope you like it, guys. And you know, it's what we're trying to do is we're trying to create something from our mind. Am I cheating using Photoshop? No. As I say, it can be done. And in the old days, we used to burn and dodge with our hands and the enlarger. So even Ansel Adams did it. You know, if it's good enough for him, it's okay for me. As I say, it can be done, but an enormous, enormous amount of work. We have Photoshop. We can paint with light. We can enhance. All of the light, if you play this video through again, then all of the light is there. It's just increasing some and reducing others and putting shadows. And remember, guys, what I always say, light is to see, shadows are for emotions. So you'll find a lot of my pictures have a lot of shadows in them. And the reason is that these pictures and these shadows give an emotion, a dimension, it gives a shape to a picture. So I'm just going to leave you with a picture. Thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks for following me on Facebook and YouTube. And guys, it's about problem solving. So if you want to create something like this, get your camera out, build your set. And if you don't have studio lights, just flag, open the curtains, do something which gets the effect you want. You can do it, guys. If I can do it, anybody can. And remember, you're never too old. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.